At PriorityMe, we want to make things as simple as possible so that exercise and working out is not complicated. So we've categorized all of our different movement patterns into 7 buckets. There's other businesses, other coaches that use these buckets. There's some variations, but these are the principles and buckets that we use to make sure that you have a well-balanced program, well-balanced schedule, and it's also for you to know when you're doing a workout, if you're doing one on your own, you can understand why we do things the way we do it. Because I often get asked the question, what's the difference between the push-up versus the chest press versus this versus that? And really all we're doing is training the body with different apparatus so that we're putting tension through the joints and the tissue in different angles, different ranges, and it's also a new stimulus for the body. Whether it's working on a different balance because it's not a stationary object. We're using a dumbbell versus doing a push-up where we're a bit more sturdy and it's a closed movement pattern. So really, by breaking down to the 7 fundamental movements, we make things a little bit easier for us as coaches, for you as a client, as an athlete, to really understand why you do what you do. So let's start off with the upper body movement pattern. So we've got our horizontal push. That's where I'm going to start. So horizontal push, that's a motion where we're pushing forward off the horizontal to the floor. In this case, that's where I'm pushing forward. So it could be anything like a TRX, chest press. So that's our horizontal push. It could be something like a push-up, same idea. It could be a single arm chest press or pushing away from the body, lying down, pressing up. Even if I had 2, it's still that horizontal press or horizontal push. Then we've got our horizontal pull. So coming back to the TRX, that's something like this motion here. We're pulling towards our body as if we were in a horizontal standing position here, setting up, pulling parallel to the ground in this case. But in this case, I'm pulling towards my body. It's a 45-degree angle. It's still that horizontal pulling motion. It could be something right here like a bent over row where I'm pulling towards my body. Same idea. It could be a bent over barbell row as well. There's so many different variations. We've got our horizontal pull here with the band. So that's our horizontal pull. So we've gone over our push, we've gone over our pull. Then we've got our vertical push. A vertical push could be something like a half kneeling dumbbell shoulder press, driving up straight towards the ceiling or vertical compared to my body here. It could be something like a handstand push-up. There's so many different ways we could go about it. I could do a barbell overhead press. That's my vertical push as well. I could do it with a band, so coming up. Then we've got our vertical pull. Our vertical pull could be anything like a lat pull down or a chin up. I don't really have anything good to show here. I don't have my chin up bar. But if I was using this, a vertical pull, never done this before, but this is what it could look like, is lying down on the ground and doing a lat pull down of sorts like so. That's pulling it straight down towards the body as we come down. Chin up, all those different types of movements. So upper body wise, horizontal push, horizontal pull, vertical push, vertical pull. Same major muscle groups as we do those. The whole time when we're doing those upper body motions, we want to make sure we're in a good athletic position. The ribs are tucked in. We've got our glutes on, shoulders down and back, chin tucked, so everything's in line with our ear to our shoulder to our hip. If you do that for basically every single motion here, you're going to be in a good setup position, and then completing those ranges of motion, you're good to go and you should be safe, especially if you follow the instructions with all the nuances and the details for each exercise. Now let's move on to lower body. So lower body, there's going to be a hip dominant movement. Hip dominant movement is something like our hinge where the knees aren't really bending. We've got a soft knee here, and we're letting those hips come back. So let me just grab a random piece of equipment here. I'm going to get the bar. So I could be doing a barbell Romanian deadlift where I'm hinging through the hips. This is my hip dominant movement. Then we've got our knee dominant movement. If I just change this up and started to get some movement through my knees and did a barbell deadlift and came down and got more bending through the knees, now this is a knee dominant movement where I'm activating more of the quads. In the hip dominant, we're folding through the hips, glutes are activated, posterior chain, the hamstrings and glutes, driving up. Knee dominant, we're getting more of the muscles that are going to extend and flex the knee. We've got our quads here, the primary knee extender as we come up right here. So another example, let's just go back to the hip dominant. It could be a back elevated glute bridge. So I'm on the bench here. You can see my knees are staying at about a 90-degree angle and I'm driving my hips up. Again, hip dominant. Take my leg up, coming down, driving up, still hip dominant. Getting most of that motion, if not all of that motion, coming through the hips. Going again, just comparing to knee dominant, where we're getting more bend through the knees, something like a lunge. You can see here there's a lot of bend through my knees, and I'm extending, pushing a lot through that quad to extend that leg. A split squat position, body weight split squat, knee dominant, dumbbell goblet squat, knee dominant. So you get the idea. And then we've got our torso exercise. So we've got those first 4 upper body, the 2 lower body, and then torso for the 7th. So, that could be really anything. Let's just go to a bench supported plank. Glutes are on. I'm holding this plank position here. Doing a knee drive. Still doing my torso, steps out to the side. If I was going to be doing a bit of a crunch on the ground here, still torso. So we're working on that core. If we were going to be doing a rotational exercise where I'm getting a lot of torso involved, rotating through, that's going to be torso as well. So some of the fundamental things to remember here. For most of the movements, if not all of them, we want to make sure we're keeping the spine in a very stable, neutral position. Ribs are tucked, getting the thumb at the bottom of the ribs, pinky at the front of the hip bone, tuck the ribs. Shoulders down and back, chin tucked back. This position right here for our hip dominant, even for our knee dominant, our lunges, our squats, our pushes, our horizontal pulls, our vertical push, vertical pull. It's essentially staying the same throughout. Where it's going to change is maybe in the torso exercises where we're kind of going off axes and we're maybe doing some flexion and rotation patterns, or we're doing a knee dominant exercise, say a lunge with a rotation. So that's where it's going to maybe switch up a little bit. But for the most part, you've got this set position with your torso, chin tucked in, shoulders down and back, ribs tucked, glutes engaged. From there, you just follow those 7 major fundamental movement patterns and you should be good to go. If you have any questions about specific exercises or the 7 fundamental movement patterns, just reach out and we'll make sure that we clear that up with you and answer any questions you may have.